Welcome to Target Center as we wrap up our coverage of the 17th annual Timberwolves Shootout. Our final game of the day features two Minnesota teams. The Apple Valley Eagles, ranked number 2 in Class 4A, against the Robbinsdale Cooper Hawks. Not ranked, but a very strong team led by a high Division I prospect. Greetings, everyone. I'm Mike Peden, joined by basketball extraordinaire Stephen Litel of Game On. And you said coming into this will be your first chance to see Tyus Jones, the Apple Valley point guard, who is highly touted by just about everybody in the state and nationwide. How excited are you to see him and Rashad, Vaughn for Cooper take the floor?
I'm very excited for the opportunity to see both of these guys live, see both of these teams, and apparently I'm not the only one because the crowd in the Target Center got significantly bigger in the last half hour in preparation for this game.
Almost feels like a Lynx game. One thing with Apple Valley, wherever they go, fans follow. As we mentioned, a sellout last night in their game against crosstown rival Eastview, the boys tip-off classic. I was told there was enough people there to force the fire marshal to, well, not force it, but if they wanted to, the fire marshal could have kicked everybody out because they exceeded the limit. Tyus Jones has a massive following, and as we mentioned in the last game, 12,000 followers on Twitter already, and he's only a junior.
Wow. Imagine when he, actually is done with school.
When he picks a college, no doubt.
That's right. Pick a college, it's going to be crazy.
He's had a lot of big names recruit him already, including John Calipari, who came out to the Tip-Off Classic to visit him. Michigan State took a look at him, Minnesota. And he's been very humble about it. Of course, Apple Valley is more than Tyus Jones. But he had to come back from injury, suffered some back spasms and missed a few games, played 5 minutes against Hopkins, then was taken out. But Apple Valley has won all their games since, and of course their first game back with Tyus Jones was a victory over Eastview. Cooper coming in at 4-4. They lost to Hopkins last night. An underdog of sorts when you look at the record, but Cooper has already played against 4 ranked teams in their schedule, so they have not had an easy route, and of course, with the playoff format, you can play as tough a schedule as you want, and it has no effect on your overall standing.
Learn a lot about your team real quick that way.
And if you want more fascinating figures for Apple Valley, keep an eye on the freshman center, Brock Bertram, 6'10", freshman. To give you an idea, Kevin Love, 6'10" for the Timberwolves. So Bertram, if he's not done growing, look out. Apple Valley known as a wrestling powerhouse. The last couple of years, Apple Valley has reached the finals in sections, but lost. So kind of undervalued of sorts. And for Robbinsdale Cooper, they've had a few strong players go their way, including Rodney Williams, who's finishing out his college career at the University of Minnesota. And once again, like the last one, we don't have numbers up on the scoreboard, so we're going to have to wing it for you a little bit. But I can tell you the starting lineups for Robbinsdale Cooper Hawks. It's going to be number 3, Billy Kellogg. Number 14, LeVar McCullough. Number 20, Rashad Vaughn. He's the player to watch for Cooper. Number 21, Brandon Baker. And number 30, Darius Denson. Apple Valley will start Harry Stoney, number 14, Tyus Jones, 21, 23, Dennis Austin, 32, Dustin Franck, and 41, Brock Bertram. Both teams playing last night, and a quick turnaround. But Tyus Jones will play his full complement of minutes for those of you concerned about his back injury. Robbinsdale Cooper with the first possession. And this is LeVar McCullough. Steve Burton, the Cooper head coach, said this group keeps them young at heart. Three-pointer, swish for LeVar McCullough, and he gets the Hawks on the board, keeps them young at heart, and he's learned a lot from these guys. Apple Valley with a quick response. That's Harry Sony, the younger brother of Varma Sony, the standout at the University of Northern Iowa for football.
Well, that's a quick start to this game for both teams. Very nice.
Maybe this will be our 80-some point game that was supposed to happen the last time out.
There you go.
And this may be one of the few facilities that can fit in all of Tyus Jones's followers. I mean, for comparison, we talked about his Twitter following. Steven over here, I think you're at 1,600, and I'm just under 600.
So just that far off.
Yes, and there's Brock Bertram, who's short on the jump shot, and it's picked up by Rashad Vaughn.
Nice. Some great move.
Coast-to-coast play. Had 36 points last night in the loss to Hopkins. And he leads the team in scoring at 29.7, season high 51.
Wow.
Another tray. LeVar McCullough, potential college prospect in the words of Steve Burton, and Cooper taking an 8-3 lead in the opening minutes of the first half. And a foul is called. Robbinsdale Cooper, located in the Northwest Suburban Conference, and we can't go any further without mentioning it's also the alma mater of our director, Bianca Rhodes, who graduated back in the days before Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. So if you wanted to chat back then, you could probably relate. You had to call on cell phones or email.
No, you got to dial on a rotary phone.
I think that goes back. That goes back to Jeff's era. Jeff, a good friend of ours. Cooper turns it over. Actually, speaking of connections, I believe Bianca over here was a basketball player herself. What happened, I don't know. I thought she would go to the Lynx for sure. Here's Tyus Jones. He's a junior, and every year I spoke with their head coach, Zach Goring, as Jones gets the bounce. Every year, Tyus Jones brings something to his game that was better than the year before. McCullough losing the handle. And with the throwdown, Rashad Vaughn. It's 10-5 in favor of Apple Valley, or Robbinsdale Cooper. Tyus Jones looking for Bertram, and he loses the handle, but it will stay with the Eagles. And Zach Goring, very excited about this following, getting all these fans to come out. He says it's helping Apple Valley getting used to play in front of big crowds now. Nearly every gym is full. They have a good relationship with the Timberwolves. This is their third straight year at the Timberwolves shootout. Last year they got crushed by Linmar, 81-35. Harry Sony with another tray.
The pace of this game seems a little bit greater than the last one.
Rashad Vaughn will make sure of that. And we've got a timeout. Apple Valley calls it. And Cooper with a 10-8 lead, or it should be 12-8. They're leading, that's what's important. We'll get the score sorted out eventually.
After the game this afternoon, you do not leave. You do not need to leave the arena if you are staying for tonight's Wolves game. You do not have to leave the arena if you're staying for the Wolves game tonight.
Well, taking a look at more of these programs, Cooper. Steve Burton, when I talked to him, the head coach said they're excited because you never know when they'll be in the state tournament. For some kids, this may be their only time at the same building as the Timberwolves. But he said it could be a prelude to something, but no matter what, these athletes of his will remember this game.
Absolutely. You know, as I mentioned in the last game, that, you know, it's always an honor and a privilege, you know, to be able to play on an NBA court, you know, especially only hours before the professionals take the court. You know, a lot of these guys have that as one of their, you know, ultimate goals, and so it's just something that's very memorable for them.
It is 12-8 in favor of the Cooper Hawks. We did confirm that. And a nice inbound play. That's Dennis Austin on the score. Austin averaging 12.8 points per game. Nicola losing the handle, and it's picked off by number 33. And down is Austin again for the fast break bucket. Number 33 is James Horton for the Eagles. Baker over to number 30, that's Rashad Vaughn. And he gets, no, he got called for the foul? No, it's on Denson. It was away from the ball. So Apple Valley will take over. Apple Valley, of course, the home to the Minnesota Zoo and the IMAX Theater, the largest in the state. Seen a few movies down there. A very nice picture.
Mike's full of these stats, even without the research.
Well, I know what Apple Valley is full of. Inside moves. That's Dustin Franck, and he led the team in scoring last night in their victory over Eastview, hooked up with Tyus Jones frequently in their win over their South Suburban foe. And Apple Valley has scored the last 6 points to take a 14-12 lead. Nicola for three, off the mark. He's hit 2 of them already. Rebound, Tyus Jones. And he loses the handle off his foot. And it will stay with the Cooper Hawks. And the reason Rashad Vaughn for the Hawks has become such a huge prospect in his own right, Steve Burton mentioned he really took off in the last AAU season this summer. And that, of course, got him noticed by some of the top Division I schools around the country. We're not talking mid-majors. We're talking the Power 6 or the BCS conferences, or schools, I should say. Tyus Jones comes up with a steal. And he finishes the move himself. That brings him up to 4. Pull up, swish. That's Billy Kellogg.
Kellogg has a nice game to him as well.
Steve Burton describes him as an extension of his coach, a floor general. That's number 35 for Apple Valley, Robert Tabroxson. Tyus Jones thought about the pull-up, instead goes to Tabroxson instead. Goes back to Jones. Right idea, but too strong on the mid-range J, and the rebound to Rashad Vaughn. And Vaughn, where is he getting looked at? Well, here's a few schools on the list. North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Minnesota. Just missing the layup. Kentucky, Louisville, Baylor, Iowa State, and Maryland. Those are some of the schools taking a look at this kid.
Just to name a few.
Well, he's a junior, so a lot of schools taking interest, so he'll have a lot of options in terms of scholarships. Tyus Jones, and one. And Tyus Jones has had a few schools take a look at him, as we mentioned. Michigan State, Minnesota on that list, Duke, Kentucky. I'm sure he's got about 50 or more letters. And Zach Goring, in his first year, was also Jones's first year. He said he noticed Tyus Jones would evolve into a special player when 20 minutes into their first practice as an 8th grader, Minnesota head coach Tubby Smith paid a visit.
Tubby and his recruiting staff are on that one immediately. Wow.
That's not uncommon. We talked about improving every year. In 8th grade, teams went after his size, and then, of course, he got to 6'2". 9th grade, he improved his perimeter shooting. Last year, it was his defense. This year, his leadership, and that is something a lot of coaches have been asking for Tyus Jones, is how he can lead and be that floor general as they make their choices on trying to get him, and as Tyus, of course, makes that choice on where he wants to go. I'm sure it's going to be a highly publicized decision.
And as you talk about his leadership, he goes to the bench, and before sitting down, he's standing there speaking with a bunch of his teammates, pointing out some things that he was seeing out there on the court.
Offensive foul on Rashad Vaughn, and Apple Valley has built a 5-point lead thanks to an 11-2 run. In the game for the Eagles, number 30, Chris Lehman. Sony, bullseye. That's his 3rd tray of the game. And Sony from 3-point range, just 30.8%, so he's feeling it here at Target Center. Rashad Vaughn beats his coverage inside. This could be a high-scoring game. Count it. Dennis Austin with the putback and a 3-point play chance.
It's a nice, strong move from the big guy.
Dennis Austin, 41% free throw shooter, though, and I have to admit I'm a little nervous about mentioning these stats because for those of you who aren't familiar, Stephen and I used to cover the Lynx together, and a running gag was me becoming a jinx on free throws.
Anytime he would look up a free throw stat when players would go to the line, they would miss the shots.
Like they missed there, like Dennis Austin missed. I'm in trouble. 24-16 though, Eagles continuing their run. It's now 13-2. Or something like that. It will stay with Robbinsdale Cooper. And even though they're 4-4, you know, they've had a few bumps. Burton's saying his team, his roster, getting better at understanding the game, getting better in clock management and processing each element of the game. And they draw the foul, and free throws coming for Rashad Vaughn. I'm still impressed at his 51-point season high. You rarely see that, in part, especially in blowout situations. You know, the coaches will pull their kids and put in the reserves to preserve them and prevent any silly injury, AKA what happened to Derrick Rose a couple years ago in the playoffs with the Chicago Bulls. But 51 points, even if you're in for 36 minutes, that's rare to get in high school basketball.
Do we know the shooting percentage on the night? I would be very curious to know that.
Unfortunately, they don't have those stats with us, but I can tell you he splits his free throws here, but that brings him up to 9 points unofficially. It's 17-24 in favor of Apple Valley with 9:36 left in the first half. Here's to Broxson, too strong. Offensive rebound Eagles, that's Dennis Austin again, and he'll go to the free throw line. Zach Goring describes him as a bulldog with strength. They'll try to get him the ball deep and let him finish at the rim. Also played on the football team.
Early on, he's showing really nice footwork in the post, drop steps, spin moves. He's really showing that he's a solid player for sure.
He averages 12.8 points per game, as we mentioned, 7.6 rebounds. And here comes Tyus Jones, and it looks like It's either a bandage or a nose guard of some sort. Austin misses both free throws. And so the score will stay at 24-17. Cooper missing a long three-pointer, but the offensive rebound and the cleanup by Darius Denson for his first basket. Denson averaging 11.4 a game, so Rashad Vaughn may be the headline for Cooper, but they do have some reliable support. Traveling violation on James Horton. And speaking of connections here and shout-outs, I have to give one to Torrey Holtz. He's on the football coaching staff at Apple Valley. He also takes part in some of our broadcasts for GrandStadium.tv as the talent coordinator officially, so he and I communicate frequently. But if you're watching, kudos to you and the fine job you've been doing this year. He came back from a Root Sports assignment out in Denver, Colorado. And back to action here. I see Tubby Smith taking another look at Tyus Jones. I wonder how many visits he's paid if you go back to that 8th grade practice. Apple Valley with a fast break, kickball. Wrong surface to play it, so Apple Valley will inbound. I'm sure a few other college coaches are here as well. Dennis Austin maybe struggling from the free throw line, but he's flourishing down low. He's up to 8 points. Vaughn used up the dribble, finds McCullough. He pulls up, short, or he may have just disguised that pass as a shot, but Darius Denson scores however you look at it. He's up to 4. And Cooper getting a couple baskets here to whittle the margin down. It's 26-21.
Yeah, getting Denson going will be a big part in Cooper, having an opportunity to win this game. Obviously can't be a one-man game, and he certainly can help them to the victory.
And Steve Burton really likes how Darius Denson attacks the baskets, and Rashad Vaughn also no hesitation. He's up to 11, and someone could have grabbed a souvenir.
Someone in about the 5th row.
These players are strong, no doubt about that. Apple Valley just one loss on the season, and that was to #1 Park Center. They may get the #1 ranking back, though, after De La Salle beat them earlier this week. Of course, rankings don't mean much when you get to the state tournament, and as we've seen in the last few years, a lot of parity, so even the favorites have a degree of vulnerability. Stop, pop, swish for James Horton, and the assist to Tyus Jones. And as a point guard, his assist to turnover ratio, quite stellar. More than a 2-to-1 advantage. For comparison, that's about what Lindsey Whalen gets for the Minnesota Lynx. So when you're having more than twice the number of assists to turnovers, very high IQ.
That's a great feed in transition.
Cooper with a transition bucket of their own. That's number 13, Trajan Carson. It's 28-25. Cooper again with a fast break look after the steal. Vaughn pulls up and drains the runner. Vaughn up to 13.
Just a little glimpse of why all those schools are looking at him there.
The class of 2014 was going to be a highly touted one, I imagine, and so for schools like Apple Valley and maybe Robbinsdale, Cooper, they better be ready for some packed bleachers over the next few games, as we saw last night in that Apple Valley Eastview game. In fact, there were so many people that wanted to attend, they had to dismiss the band who played in the girls' game just to get a few more spectators in there.
16 foul.
We mentioned Apple Valley winning all their games without Tyus Jones. They're already used to playing without him because during the summer they would practice without Jones, who was fulfilling his USA basketball assignments, played in the U18 team. Double dribble violation on Apple Valley. It goes against Matt Christensen, number 24. Vaughn, NBA three, has the range but couldn't fall. Rebound, Dusty Frank. You mentioned leading scorer last night in the win over Eastview. He launches a three, and that's short. And it will stay with Apple Valley. Timeout, Steve Burton and Robbinsdale Cooper with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. We talked about some of the results over the last few years at the T-Wolves Shootout, and let's take a look at the top individual performances. Rick Rickard is the all-time leading scorer with 44 points against Potomac, and that was back in 2001. Kevin Love's name's on the list. That name sounds familiar. He's had 41 points, 17 rebounds, and 7 assists against Osseo when he was playing for Lake Oswego High School. Ben Johnson put 41 points in against Monticello back in 1998. And the last of the 40-point scorers, Cole Steffen, 40 points against Lynn Marr back in 2010. Steffen, a member of Minnetonka. Here you get a look at Steve Burton, the head coach of Robbinsdale Cooper. Very big picture thinker when I talked to him last night. He's not too worried about the record right now or how his team is doing. He just said let the chips fall where they may, but in his view, every game is a state tournament game. And even though they're not getting a lot of wins against the ranked teams right now, they had a couple of overtime losses actually to a pair of high-quality teams. He said it will prepare them for state tournament play, section playoffs. And when you're in a big conference, as Cooper is in the Northwest Suburban, you don't get many chances to play non-conference teams. So I like the move of scheduling as many tough opponents as you can to prepare yourself for section play in March.
You learn about your team quickly. And you learn so much quickly when you have such a tough schedule, and fighting through adversity throughout the entire year, obviously builds character, builds, the willingness to fight when the games, I shouldn't say really count, but when they maybe get more important in the standings at the end of the season.
Well, don't forget, each games do count here, and this will count for section seeding, but in and out is Bertram, and the rebound going to Baker. It is worth noting you can't control the conference, so there are going to be some teams you end up having 50-point wins against. There's just not much you can do about it. But if you can control the non-conference portion of your scheduling, like you said, you learn a lot about your team, more so than if you were to schedule
bunnies.
Yes. Bunnies, cupcakes, muffins, cookies, submarine sandwiches. Pull up. Too strong from Baker. Offensive rebound. Darius Denson getting involved.
I really like Denson's game. He's a hard worker down low and gets those putbacks.
Not shy about attacking the basket, as Steve Burton mentioned. There's Christensen going over to Dusty Frank. Frank, the all-time leading three-point shooter in Apple Valley history. He goes for a mid-range instead and gets the kiss off the glass, but Frank on the season from three-point range, 42%.
Wow.
That's pretty solid. Cooper drains the counter. That's Billy Kellogg. And Cooper with a 32-30 lead while I wasn't looking. Our director's loving this. I'm not sure the Apple Valley fans are. Bertram, traveling violation, wouldn't have fallen anyway. He is a freshman, but projected to be another Division I recruit. Well, when you're 6'10", you're going to get noticed.
Number 23, Dennis Austin.
And from the Timberwolves staff, we have Roy Williams, the head coach at North Carolina, Tubby Smith, as we mentioned, and Fred Hoiberg, all in the front row. Fred Hoiberg, the head coach at Iowa State and former player on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was a popular figure here during his professional time. Unfortunately, he had to end his career prematurely because of a medical condition, but nice to see him continuing his career in the coaching ranks.
And he's doing a great job at Iowa State so far.
Do you see him taking an NBA job someday?
I actually, to be honest, I don't, because, you know, after all, he is the mayor of Ames, Iowa, and now running the team, you know, and having them on the upswing. I just really have a feeling that he's home.
Has to be surreal for him to come back here, though, and think about the time he spent here, because even though the Wolves haven't had a lot of success, we've got an offensive foul in Apple Valley. I've spoken with former NBA players, and they talk about how hard it is to get in. I mean, there's a lot of glamour associated with it. There's a lot of coverage, obviously, a lot of big names, but when you look, even if you look at the LeBron James and Kobe Bryants of the world, it's tough to sustain yourself for that long. It's just tough to get in.
Yeah.
And so it's not an easy ticket, even for these high Division I recruits. That doesn't mean you're going to get an automatic NBA assignment. But a lot of the folks who are no longer a part of it that I've talked to have said they were very appreciative of their time in the NBA and wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Cooper's playing a little perimeter ball now. How about Vaughn with a fadeaway and a defender in his face? That brings shades of Simone Augustus, one of the few players who can pull that off.
You say Simone Augustus, and I was thinking, you know, that was very Kobe Bryant-esque, Michael Jordan-esque. That was just absolute beautiful turnaround shot.
We got to make sure both genders are covered. And a player is down. That is LeVar McCullough, number 14. And he's already put down 6 points for Cooper, and this would be a big loss. McCullough, 6'1" senior forward, and he's holding his calf muscle, it looks like. And he gets back up and able to walk off, and maybe a cramp or a little tweak. Still limping. But Cooper will have to play without him for a little while, but if it's any consolation, there's 1 minute and 22 seconds left until the halftime intermission, so.
And he's just sitting on the bench now. He's not going back to the locker room. He looks like he'll be okay.
Well, if needed, we hope it doesn't come to that. There is X-ray equipment in this building, among other things. So taking his place will be number 35, Brandon Robinson. Here's Vaughn, another three, too strong. Rebound going to Robinson. And that has been a popular play for Robbinsdale Cooper in this first half, making successful attacks in the paint. And they take a 6-point lead, their largest of the game. And Apple Valley slices it in half. Dusty Frank with the tray.
That's what he does.
He scored 25 in the win against Hopkins and 33 against Osseo earlier this week. And on top of that, he set the single-season receiving yard record for Apple Valley's football team. Cooper going to run out the clock and take one more shot, and who else? Rashad Vaughn. He loses the ball, and Apple Valley with time. Jones going to beat the buzzer. Yes! So Tyus Jones scoring, that brings him up to 9, but you're looking at a 4 or 5 point swing there. Cooper had a chance to go up by 2 possessions. Instead, Apple Valley gets the steal, and it's a 1 point game, 36-35.
And as expected, this game back and forth and perfect at halftime, a 1 point game. It's going to be fun all the way.
And we've seen contrasting styles already. Cooper primarily going through Rashad Vaughn for their offense. Apple Valley spreading it around. We see Tyus Jones with 9 points, Harry Sony with 9 points, Frank with 7. Good ball movement, and as you would expect, they are canceling each other out.
Exactly. Should be similar to the first game, the previous game. I would imagine that it's going to be back and forth. I wouldn't imagine this one ending up a 16-point win, though, for either team. I see it going down to the wire.
We'll see what happens. We'll pause for a moment, and Leah Bielson will join us for a halftime chat. You're watching the 17th annual Timberwolves Shootout. Mike Peden here with Joy Jones from the De La Salle Islanders as they take part in this Timberwolves Shootout as spectators this time, and I have to imagine it's a little more relaxing to be watching games instead of playing out there.
Yeah, much more relaxing.
But you're no stranger to this court, obviously. You've won 2 state titles in a row in Class 3 for the girls, and what does it mean to come out here and play at Target Center where the Lynx have won a championship, the Wolves are on the surge, and at the center of basketball right here?
It's really nice just to be able to experience some of the same things that the professionals have. So we really like coming out, and we always just play as hard as we can so we can just make our city proud.
Now, one thing, we've talked about this in previous broadcasts, court is longer here than it is at your place on De La Salle, which is a mile away. How do you prepare for that using a longer court, which I've heard could sometimes test the energy of the players?
We just work harder and run a lot more so we get used to it, so we're not as tired. We played a couple games at college courts, like the Hamlin tournament, and our last tournament was at Wisconsin Scout. So we have practice on these courts, and we're used to them, so we get out there and just work hard.
Now, this will be the last year the girls will host the championship rounds here at Target Center, and I know there's still nothing's certain yet. You still have to get through sections if you want to go back to state. But what do you think is going to be different, or what do you think folks might miss in the following years when they play at Williams Arena?
What was the question?
Well, what do you think is going to be different? You know, instead of at Target Center, they're going to Williams Arena.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It would just be. It won't be quite as exciting as the bigger court than just sitting at the Williams Arena, but it'd still be nice. We like playing there too, and it's going to be more of an experience for us because we're in college next year for a lot of the seniors, so we'll just be getting prepared.
That's right, and you've had a pretty good record either way at Williams and at Target Center, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Right.
Now, with your team, you talked about playing in your holiday tournament at Wisconsin Stout. And after losing the first 2 games of the year, you have won every single game since. How do you think the team has responded? I know De La Salle, sometimes they can get slow starts, but they get themselves together by March.
Yeah, we just take a minute to look at ourselves and reevaluate what we came out to do. So once we just know we don't want to have that feeling anymore, so we just keep working hard and keep going at it every time we get into court.
Now, you may have also preserved the balance, because last couple of years you've lost your first game of the season and won the state tournaments. First year, Faith and Company was at De La Salle. You won your first game, finished 3rd. So you may have preserved the alignment there.
Yeah, we have our little superstitions, but we weren't worried about it. So we didn't necessarily think it was a bad thing that we lost there, since our history's shown that we always can pull it out at the end.
Well, championships are won in November anyway.
Exactly.
Now, of course, you're a senior, and a lot of seniors, as you mentioned, on the team. Alina Starr, Tyshana Johnson, among a few. So what are you looking forward to as you get ready to make that big transition from high school to college?
That's a good question. I don't even know.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to it. Just just being able to take it to the next level and work even harder. I just know it's going to be a lot more work and a lot challenging, and I don't know, it's going to be a lot, but yeah.
I have a question. So Joy, tell me what Hall of Fame head coach Faith Johnson-Patterson instills in you guys on a daily basis that will help you to go to that next level.
She tells us to believe in ourselves every chance she gets. That's her biggest thing, is just to believe. So that's what we always, believing in ourselves, believing in her, believing in our teammates. So that's our biggest thing.
And last question for you, is there anyone you want to say hi to that may be watching this on Prep 45 and elsewhere?
I'll say hi to my dad, hi to my team. I love them, so that's it.
Well, Joy Jones, thank you very much. We'll have more De La Salle girls players for you throughout the day. You're watching the 17th annual Timberwolves Shootout.
Nice.
And we're back with Leah B. Olson of KSTC Channel 45, and it seems like a host of many other roles throughout her career. Of course, she was the recent host of Wolves Weekly, the magazine show on FSN, and still involved with that group. And when she's not doing that, she's doing commercials down in Iowa.
That's my career. That's exactly right. Good to see you, Mike.
And so you've been here for the last couple of games. Of course, this was a highly anticipated game, a huge crowd to see Rashad, Vaughn, and Tyus Jones take the floor. What are your observations?
Well, I think it's been really fun so far. One, I love coming to a game like this because you get to see so many people come out. You're seeing not only the high school kids, the parents, but all the different coaches who are coming in to see these kids play. And we've seen the Gopher basketball teams here. We saw Tubby, all the people. So it's a fun atmosphere to be in. But game-wise, I think we've had some excellent games today.
And if I'm correct, for the first time, at least based on data I had, it was the first time of an outstate sweep happening involving the teams outside of Minnesota coming here and beating the Minnesota team. So a little point of pride for the schools in the Midwest.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. You know, I mean, the games were tight, and you don't often see De La Salle lose on, well, in particular on this Timberwolves court. But that was an excellent game, good basketball, and Roseville came in here. Of course, they came in with some injuries, so they didn't have the full crew, but they threw out a good game but couldn't pull it off, and now we'll see what the two Minnesota teams can do.
Well, if you're going to blow a game, better to do it now than at the state tournament when it's a one-and-done situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But you've been actually following a lot of the high school beat this year, having a little more free time in that regard. So what have you noticed for the boys and the girls? Because I know you're kind of doing a season-long homework assignment, as I'm sure you'll be back for the 45 coverage here, which takes place in March.
Yeah, looking forward to always doing the state tournament games, analyst for the girls, hosting with Trent Tucker for the boys. Well, a couple things that we've noticed, and I've talked to a couple people who are great basketball minds here at Target Center today, is that the level of basketball in the state of Minnesota is gotten higher and continues to get higher and higher. And so that's really been fun to watch, and you have standout players, but you also have better overall teams, so the average player has stepped up their game a little bit. So we've seen a lot of really good basketball. I need to see a lot more outstate teams. We've talked about this before, how difficult that is to see some of the outstate teams. But of what I've seen in the Metro so far has been impressive.
Well, it's hard to go up to Fergus Falls and Brainerd and some of those teams that are way out there.
Exactly.
But,
it's a little tougher, but I will, try to get to a few of those games before the tournament.
We can hook you up with a few folks who would go on that trip with you.
Perfect. I would look. We can do a little caravan. That would be fun.
Now, I'm sure you noticed the crowd, and last night I watched coverage of the Apple Valley Eastview game. That gym was sold out. Just how do you soak in this kind of response where you've got a huge fan base here to see Tyus Jones, Vaughn, and just the following those two have generated? We talked about on Twitter Tyus Jones having over 12,000 followers.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and I am curious how that's what's impressive, I think, in particular about Tyus Jones, how he handles himself. That has to be so much pressure. Every time he walks into an arena, he's filling it up because people want to come and see him in particular. So, but he handles it with such class, and he comes in and he says hello to everyone, and I just think there's so much more to being a great basketball player than what actually happens on that court, and I think these young men are showing it here.
Now, you were a Timberwolves employee way back when, and you've been involved with the organization in some way, shape, or form since the Shootout era, I would imagine. I don't know how many of these you work, but any memories that stand out for you? Because, I mean, this has been going on for 17 years, and so we've seen a lot of top players come through. We talked about Kevin Love once took the floor here before he signed on with the Timberwolves, and a lot of cream of the crop, girls, boys, have taken the floor here.
It's an amazing list of top players that have really come through here. When the first ones first started happening, what I really remember, it was the first time I was seeing really good teams come in from Chicago, and at that point, those teams were, the Farragut Academies, and those were teams you had always heard of.
Farragut Academy, where did we hear that from?
Exactly.
Why does that name sound familiar?
But you had never seen those teams up close. In the Shootout, for me, was some of the first times of seeing some of those really great teams come in here into Target Center and start playing. And then after year, the expectation from the Minnesota teams started rising. So it wasn't just we were coming to see who was, coming from out of town anymore. But no, there's been some, the Khalid Al-Amin days and all the fun. There's been just so many great players who have come through here.
And intermission almost up, but I do have to ask you this. It's a couple of months from now, but you've seen some action. Who do you think are your favorites, girls and boys, to win state tournaments?
Whoa, too early for that,
We're going to ask for the psychic expert here.
Yep, and you're not getting any answers from me. Come
on.
Because it is early January. And so, and I haven't seen enough of them that I want to get out there and say, this is what I think. But I think everyone knows the obvious standouts on both sides, and both girls and boys. With Litel again on both sides, looks really good, in particular for the boys. For the girls, you always have our super strong Hopkins team. Injuries could change a lot. They've been faced with some early on. So let's try to finish up this conversation in another month, and I'll give you my thoughts on that.
Well, I'm sure I'll be seeing you around that time. I'll be back here for quarterfinals coverage. Thank you for stopping by, Leah Bielsen. And lastly, anyone you want to say hi to that might be watching this?
Hello to everyone out there, and thanks for supporting high school basketball.
All right, thank you, Leah Bielsen. And now we've got Litel Vaughn Steinbergs ready to talk to head coach Steve Burton, Robbinsdale Cooper.
This is Litel Vaughn Steinbergs. I'm here on the sideline with head coach Steve Burton. Steve, just talk to us about the first half real quick and what we'll see in the second half.
Well, I thought we stayed poised. It's different from last night. We kind of got a little helter-skelter, but today we stayed poised, ran our offense. Everything is running the way we need it. We just got to pick up the pace a little more, start running the ball, open up the floor a little bit, see if we can wear them down a little bit.
Happy with your guys overall?
Yes, overall I'm happy with what they're doing.
All right. Yeah. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
I think you have taken part in that a few times for your Lynx games.
Excellent job. I know how that job goes, but excellent job. Looks good, Mike.
Oh, and you've seen her a couple of times, actually. You might see her again. That's the assistant coach for Litel's girls team. So now you've got a little trivia to add to your stable. You see how this all works?
It's all piecing together.
We infuse information at any point of the day. Well, thanks again, Leah, and we're going to bring back Stephen Litel, and so we can stop bothering Leah so she can watch the game.
Thanks, Stephen.
And I will tell you that you are watching the 17th annual Timberwolves Shootout. Last game of the day between Apple Valley and Robbinsdale Cooper, a 4A non-conference showdown. Robbinsdale Cooper leading 36-35, but Tyus Jones scoring at the last minute to beat the buzzer and get a big swing. And let's take a look at the first half numbers quickly. Very balanced for Apple Valley. Tyus Jones and Harry Sony leading with 9 points apiece. Jones already 5 assists. Dennis Austin with 8. Dusty Frank with 7. Rashad Vaughn with 15 points to lead the Cooper Hawks. LeVar McCullough has 6, as does Darius Denson. Rebounding, favoring the Cooper Hawks 15-11. Shooting, Cooper 61%, Apple Valley 53%. But overall, stats fairly even, and that's what makes our fairly even score. We have Stephen back, so let's get his mic up.
It's been a very interesting game so far, very entertaining. I'm glad my mic is working. Let's get back to it.
Well, that's the first step. You know how they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and in our case, that includes microphones. We don't have that working, then we're just talking a bunch of gibberish.
Well, we might still be talking a bunch of gibberish anyway.
For someone who doesn't know basketball, perhaps. Maybe we got to bring a dictionary or next time do a explanation or a lecture of sorts. Tyus Jones already faring much better than his return last night. And Rashad Vaughn with the kiss off the glass. And that was the toughest place to do it, too, is on the baseline. That's the toughest place to get an angle. And Cooper with another chance here. And finishing the coast-to-coast play is Billy Kellogg. And if they keep this up, I think I'm gonna see pom-poms from our director here. Our audio director said something that I'm not sure if I can repeat. Apple Valley turns it over. It's 40-35. I'm not sure if I can repeat it in part because I can't make him out from this distance. But everyone having fun up here. Taking part in this showcase event for boys high school basketball. It's been back and forth, kind of mini runs for both teams, and Rashad Vaughn can't make it work a second time. Offensive rebound, but Bertram rejects it. And Bertram didn't get the block, but he did disrupt it enough. But Cooper with another try. And 3 chances there. And Cooper's possession comes up empty. Here comes Apple Valley. Franck going inside to Austin. And you stick to what works in the case of Apple Valley. Dennis Austin flourishing in the paint, and he's continuing the paint job.
Great move there.
Free throws coming for who else? Rashad Vaughn.
First personal, first team foul. Rashad Vaughn on the line, shooting
Burton
2.
says he's been getting stronger, quicker. He can elevate more efficiently to get his shot off, as we've seen throughout the day. And he can attack the basket from mid-range, and as we've seen a few times, has a perimeter shot. Has a pretty nice bank shot, too.
Yeah, he seems to, right now, definitely have pretty much everything in his game. Now it's just a matter of continuing to fine-tune and, get ready for the next level.
Cooper up 42-37. Cooper looking to get back above 500. Apple Valley looking to continue their winning streak. They have won every game since the loss to Park Center. And if they continue to do that, with Dennis Austin excelling inside, Apple Valley has a good chance. Austin up to 12, matching his average. And he picks up the rebound. And a blocking foul is called on Cooper. And since we're on the subject, speaking of famous alumni, well, not quite alumni, but Cooper's football coach has NFL ties. Willie Howard, who played a couple of years for the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow, I did not know that.
Played his college ball at Stanford.
You've taught me something today, Mike.
That would make, what, the 89th thing I've taught you today? Vaughn with the rebound. Offensive board. Into the hands of Rashad Vaughn. Can't get the bank. Rebound Baker, and he gets the cleanup. That's his first field goal. And on the season, Baker doesn't score much, but Dennis Austin, how about his performance in the paint? He keeps this up. The grounds crew might have to come out and repaint the foul lane before tonight's Wolves game. 3-point game, Cooper leading 44-41, and even though the Hawks are up front, they have found no way to stop Dennis Austin inside.
Yeah, right now he's just doing whatever he wants, moving to the empty spaces, and they're finding him with the passes.
And when you have a point guard like Tyus Jones, that really changes the dynamic of your group. As Rashad Vaughn does a lot of scoring, and we see a lot of players take on that role for high school teams, but in some ways point guards are a little undervalued because they are such good ball distributors, like Tyus Jones, Rachel Banham from Lakeville North. And in the case of Tyus Jones, last year he was featured in a story about point guard play. And the other folks the Star Tribune interviewed, Rachel Banham, Lindsay Whalen, Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, Minnesota fans are very lucky with the point guard play in this state recently. It's, you know, on all levels. It's just we've been really fortunate. You know, obviously all the way from Tyus, you know, all the way up to the NBA players, WNBA, you know, Whalen and Rubio. Those are definitely players point guards want to emulate.
Brandon Baker getting a couple baskets now, but for Tyus Jones, how does it feel to be in that company? I know I'd be a little blushed. No foul called.
That's definitely one of those articles that you you know, cut out and frame when you're in that kind of company.
Vaughn, yes. Showing his NBA range a little early. Never too early to start. Of course, we talked about it off broadcast, the WNBA extending their three-point line. I'm not sure if we'll see that happen in college or high school too soon, but that just shows you how much the talent has improved over the years. Tyus Jones with the steal and the basket to break double digits. He's up to 11. Cooper up by 8. And Baker tying up his shoe. So Cooper having to slow down a little bit. Holy cow, Rashad Vaughn feeling it. And Zach Gorin's going to call a timeout. It's hard to stop a three-point shooter when he's already got his NBA range down.
Yeah, he's just rising up confidently and hitting shots right now. It's quite a pleasure to watch right now.
Say, you've got your little camera. You should put it at our director here. We'd have some bloopers to put in the broadcast. She's been juking with Vaughn's three-pointers, a few plays. Loving her alma mater's play today.
As she should, up 11 points at this point.
We need a director cam. Maybe a behind-the-scenes look. Where is it when you need it? But if you're Apple Valley here, obviously a lot of time left. How do you contain Vaughn and kind of force them to get other players to step up? Because Vaughn, the primary catalyst in the offense, not a lot from the other players so far.
I think the way he's shooting it right now, maybe the best defense against him would be the Shaquille O'Neal defense, you know, where all 5 players just run at him and yell.
One problem with that, you leave some other players open and they're not duds. But this will be a statement win for Robbinsdale Cooper if they can come away with this. They're up by 9. And we mentioned they're trying to stay above 500, but to take down the number 2 team, that would give the Cooper Hawks some much-needed respect for the rest of the season as they get ready to play Northwest Suburban Conference play. Horton shorts, and a foul is called off the rebound.
Fouls on Danny Horton. His first personal, second, and now
12-14 remaining. And here's the key for Cooper as they have a 9-point lead. When I spoke with Steve Burton last night, he said the big key, the big point of emphasis, staying focused and poised, weathering the momentum swings. Right now, Cooper on an upswing with their largest lead of the game, but we've seen Apple Valley claw back several times. Vaughn weaving through a double team.
Obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, you know, my first time seeing these two teams live, Vaughn is, you know, in particular, he's showing me quite a lot. rather impressed with this performance, as is, most of the crowd.
DeBroxson was fouled. They'll go to the line, the 6'6" junior forward. I'm going to risk this 63.6% free throw shooter. I'm taking a gamble. Okay, I'm off the hook there. That gets DeBroxson on the board. Overall, DeBroxson averaging 6 points per game and 4.2 rebounds per game. He gets both here.
You're lucky this time. You are safe.
Apple Valley fans wanted to travel. And as we've said before, we'll say it again, regardless of the outcome, there's still a long way to go before the state tournament. So if you lose here, it's not a big deal if you hoist that state tournament trophy in March. And there's the pairing we've been looking for. Tyus Jones to Dusty Franck, and Franck up to 9 points, and Jones, I don't know how many assists he has officially, but I'm sure he's getting close to 10. Cooper slowing things down a little bit. Clean block by Apple Valley, and that was a strong move by Cooper. I thought they had a layup, but Apple Valley was paying attention.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere to get that one. That was incredible.
Those are always the most impressive blocks. Even the broadcasters don't expect them. When that happens, that's a pretty good block. But Cooper will get another try. And Apple Valley didn't have anyone boxing out on the outside. Holy cow, Brandon Baker had a point-blank shot come up empty. You don't want to let those go. Franck was thinking about a three. Actually, that was DeBroxson. There's Tyus Jones directing traffic. We've seen a few fancy passes out of him today. Finds Franck on the skip. Looking for Austin. Austin. Wow, and one! How about that? A nearly broken play, and Apple Valley once again with another answer.
Apple Valley getting the ball moving side to side, getting it into the post, getting the end one.
That sends James Horton to the line for a three-point play. Doesn't score much. Gets a couple of rebounds a game, but this will be a new season high for him. And Apple Valley will take any point they can get. They've scored the last 5, and now it's a 4-point margin, 54-50 with 9:51 in regulation. Vaughn used up the dribble, comes up short on the 14-footer. And a foul off the offensive rebound that will send Brandon Robinson to the line. And Cooper, we're seeing a few players coming in for the first time or maybe second time. They had to nurse some injuries early on in the season. Now they're getting their full roster back. And so we're seeing the Cooper team that I think a lot of folks were looking forward to at the start of the year, but as we mentioned in the first half, you play against top teams, and especially if you play shorthanded, you're going to learn a lot about yourselves and get some valuable information that could come in handy come playoff time when it's one and done. But Robinson misses both free throws, and Apple Valley has a chance to further trim the margin. It's Franck. Bullseye! You almost knew it was good going in as soon as he released it.
It did. It looked good immediately.
1 point game, Franck up to a dozen. And Tyus Jones, once again, that pairing between he and Franck has been phenomenal in the last 24 hours. Apple Valley with the deflection, but it will stay with Cooper. You get nervous over there, Bianca? We'll see if Cooper has that same composure. Vaughn stops, pops short again to Broxton with the rebound. Apple Valley can take the lead. Tyus Jones will take it himself, and Vaughn says, Steve Burton wasn't kidding when he said Vaughn was quicker. Looking for Austin, does find him on the baseline. Trying to shake Baker. And that was good defense by Darius Denson, I should say, the 6'4 junior center. Forced Austin into a no-win scenario. But still a one-point game. Cooper looking for another signature win to add to their resume. Apple Valley looking to continue that winning streak, and Steve Burton will call timeout. Clean half so far, only 3 fouls both ways, and overall we aren't seeing the same number of fouls as we did in the previous game.
Yeah, I was just looking at the clock a little bit ago, just going, man, this half is going quickly.
No shortage of offense, though.
Yeah, it's been quite entertaining. A lot of plays from both of the big names. It's been really fun.
It's been a lot of fun for us too. This is our first time covering the Timberwolves shootout, and I see why. It's been around for 17 years. And it's not the only time you'll have the high school kids play here. Of course, there's a state tournament, but earlier this season, Lakeville North and Hopkins played here for a girls showdown. Of course, those two have a history of state tournament success. And I've been told Jeff Municky likes to have this building in use even when his professional tenants aren't playing. Of course, next year there will be the new Collegiate Hockey Conference hosting their conference tournament here, and we'll get to see Target Center as a hockey venue once more. Rarely used, but that ought to be an interesting configuration. And of course, this place will be getting spruced up in the coming years thanks to that stadium deal. No foul called. Robinson gets the bank. Refs are really letting them play, and that's what I like to see.
This is the marquee game. This is what the fans came to see. Let the players figure it out and determine the winner.
Well, how else do you get smarter? Dustin Franck hits from the other corner. And we're tied at 56. Franck with 15 points. That's his third three-point basket. And Apple Valley working their way from a 9-point deficit a few minutes ago. Vaughn for the counter. Bullseye.
It's Grady for Rashad.
29 points for the junior. Dennis Austin will go to the line. I have to imagine folks like Hoiberg and Tubby Smith and Roy Williams taking notes.
Oh yeah, they're definitely seeing some impressive stuff today from the players that they're here to watch.
And that's a pretty distinguished group over there. We talked about the success Fred Hoiberg has had with Iowa State, took the team to the NCAA tournament last year. Tubby Smith won a championship at Kentucky in 1998, the first year after Rick Pitino left. And Roy Williams has won a pair for North Carolina in 2005 and 2009. Coincidentally beating both Big Ten teams when he did it, Illinois in 05 and Michigan State in 09. And which brings us back here with Michigan State taking a look at Tyus Jones. Austin missing both free throws, and we'll see if that comes back to influence the outcome. And I'm sure there are more college coaches paying a visit today. Robinson. That was a tough shot. Good defense by Apple Valley. They go to Austin again, and a push foul is called on Cooper. They will only have one more to give now, and that becomes key here as we get in the closing minutes of regulation. Gives us a chance to catch our breath. A very exciting game, though, to cap off the 17th annual Timberwolves Shootout. We've had a huge slate of guests here. I mean, Jeff Munichke came in earlier, talked about the community relations aspect, and you have to commend what the Timberwolves have done with this event. I know they are the butt of punchlines where they were before Adelman came in and Love and Rubio, but they still do a lot of things for the community, and without them, we wouldn't have this chance or this opportunity. Neither us nor the players.
Well, and it's, you know, obviously it's a great opportunity all around. You know, as we've mentioned before, you know, the players' opportunity to play on this court, especially, you know, only hours before the professionals get here to play their game. You know, it's really something special for them.
Another foul on Cooper. It's against Brandon Baker. They are now out of fouls to give. So Apple Valley will shoot free throws for the remainder of the game.
Now let's see if they can take advantage. That's obviously something rather key.
Well, they've got a good player down low, and Austin used up the dribble and one. On cue, Dennis Austin strutting his ability. I'm not sure if he has any collegiate plans, but he's a junior, and I think it would be foolish to pass him up after this game.
Yeah,
if you're a college recruit.
Yeah, he in the post, he really has a lot of good moves, a lot of good footwork. He's doing some special things down there. If there haven't been coaches looking at him, they probably should be.
Austin can't complete the three-point play, but it's a one-point game, and Apple Valley, an experienced group this year. Zach Goring believes he finally has the pieces necessary to reach state. You know, getting some good players down low in Austin and Bertram to lead the front court. And Vaughn again. I would have left the building if he hit that. But you and I, of course, we've covered a few championship runs in our reporting career. We know how tough it is to get all those pieces. Teams may make it look easy, but you really need a complete team, especially that starting five, to have a legitimate chance.
Well, of course, you know, everybody has to understand rather well, understand what their role is on the team and, you know, how they are needed to contribute.
And there's a big contributor, Dennis Austin again. And speaking of contributions, we'll get to that point in a second. Here's Cooper on a fast break. Robinson with the response. Back and forth game, 61-60. Speaking of contributions, the Apple Valley program, they will host their Feed My Starving Children event in February, and they also work with the Apple Valley Youth Traveling Team once a month, giving them pointers. So they're highly involved in the community. And they're highly involved from the three-point line. Harry Sony, that's all he's made, but he's made 4 triples. And Apple Valley with a 2-point lead, 63-61. Overtime not out of the question. We still have a few minutes of regulation to go. Rashad Vaughn, tough shot, doesn't fall. Austin with the rebound. Tyus Jones, look out, goodbye, and one.
And that is one of the reasons he is a coveted player. That was just a beautiful move, beautiful decision in transition.
And despite all the attention he has received in the local media, college coaches, we've got a timeout by Apple Valley. Tyus will never draw attention to himself, in the words of Goring, and his calm demeanor is rubbed off on the rest of the team. Tyus just wants to play basketball, and he reminds me of some of the other coveted stars who had success here at the high school level. Angel Robinson for St. Paul Central when they won state a few years ago. Some of the other top recruits, and even some of the sleepers that developed. The ones that succeed the most are usually the ones that really all they want to do is play basketball, go home and sleep after the game.
And they also develop that ability to learn how to be consistent on and off the court. on the court, that's obvious. You want to know whether you're a coach, you're a teammate, you want to know what you're getting from your best player every night, or every player every night. But off the court too, just the consistency of attitude, as far as not being too hot or too cold after a win or a loss, and knowing there's another one coming, and redemption can be had.
Jones up to 13 points. He averages 20 a game, and as we mentioned, has fought through some back spasms. Tried to play against Hopkins, but Goring felt he was coming in a little too early, so he said, let's rest you for a little while, get you healthy. And Apple Valley, of course, came back to beat Hopkins in that game. Jones, 20 points per game, 87% free throw shooter.
Speaking of consistent, 87%.
You don't see that often in high school basketball, and it's a skill I wish there was more emphasis on. We talked about it earlier, how free throws can be so influential. Here's Darius Denson getting a quick score for the Hawks. Sony was looking for Austin, and a foul is called on Cooper, and again they are in the penalty, so a 1-on-1 situation here for Dennis Austin.
Denson did not agree with that call.
And you have to be careful at this level. There was no sense of it, but you have to be careful, because if you get hit with a technical as a player, that counts as a personal foul and also counts in the team category, not like the pros. But Apple Valley showing their experience. It's a very veteran group, a lot of 3- and 4-year starters on the varsity roster. Austin makes the first, and officials remind everybody you got to come back. It's a 1-on-1. You're not done yet. Come back here. But that's a key free throw too. Austin had struggled a little bit, so any points he can get will help the Eagles' cause. 5-point game. And now the pendulum swings over to Cooper. They've got the one with pressure on their back. And can they respond? Plenty of time to do so. They were leading by 9 earlier in this half. Vaughn had the right idea going to Robinson, but Robinson didn't drive quick enough, and Apple Valley gets the block. Jones content to hang on to the ball here. Apple Valley in that situation. Jones looking for Austin, finds him. Austin, tough shot. Horton with the rebound. Jones with the cleanup.
So a little glimpse at Apple Valley. No one really caring who gets the glory, anything like that. Just beautiful ball movement, just trying to get back.
Well, when you've got a great distributor in Tyus Jones, he'll shoot another pair. When you have such a great distributor, as we talked about, you don't have to absorb all the glory the way Cooper does. Vaughn's their best player, but they don't have as strong of a contingent behind them, at least not yet. With someone like Tyus Jones, you don't have to get 20 points tonight, because you can feed to Dennis Austin down low. You can feed to Dusty Franck for a three-pointer. When we talk about offensive creation, all the assists Jones are piling up, those are points he was responsible for. And that sometimes gets overlooked, although it's not a sabermetric you can really keep track of on the stat sheet, because on assists you don't know if there were 2 or 3 pointers, but I bet if you found an advanced stat tracker, you could probably locate that number. Something to throw out there for you basketball fans who are into advanced statistics. I wish I had the time. 3 minutes to go, and now Apple Valley with their largest lead of the game at 9. And Rashad Vaughn has struggled in the last few minutes, and he's rejected once more. Tyus Jones, bounce pass to Austin, goodbye.
Great pass.
And that just may do it for the Apple Valley Eagles. They're up by 11, and Cooper would need a few breaks to go their way. They're not getting it. 2:33 remaining. And Steve Burton will call timeout to settle his troops down. Apple Valley has scored the last 13 points.
Guys, your ticket for the Timberwolves Shootout is your ticket for tonight's Timberwolves games. If you like, you are more than welcome to stay in the arena. If you want,
We want to remind you at the end of this game, we'll try to get a post-game chat with Litel Vaughn Steinbergs, our sideline reporter today. And I'll say this, she's done a great job getting us some interviews and even getting us a few guests up here, whether it's up in the booth or down on the floor. She's been busy utilizing her connections today. We've got a fine crew all around, and I see you've been able to handle your broadcasting debut so far.
I think I've survived. Hopefully I've been somewhat entertaining to you out there listening.
Think we can bring you back for the state tournament in some capacity?
I don't see why not.
Well, that'll take place in mid-March. Of course, you can catch all the action right here for those of you watching on Prep 45 and those of you watching elsewhere. That's where quarterfinal coverage will be, and then, of course, the semifinal round on will be simulcast on Channel 45 and online. We want to thank everybody for their support today, JDL for providing the equipment to pull this off, and our crew who's helped us out in big ways from our, I don't know how our director's feeling right now, but a little less energetic than a few minutes ago, our audio director who's been enjoying this banter all around. You've been a great asset. And our crew from earlier today.
As have you, Mike. As have you.
And no, I did not pay him to say that.
The check's in the mail.
Examiner doesn't pay me enough. Here's Kellogg. Cooper's going to need to score and score quickly. Robinson gets the layup. Now Cooper needs a steal. It's a 9-point game. It is not impossible, but that's what they need, a stop. They forced Austin into a bad shot. Now Cooper needs a basket. Blocking foul. Apple Valley had a few to give, and that stops the momentum somewhat because Baker had Vaughn open on the other end of the lane, and they can't get a layup out of it. Apple Valley has 2 more to give, so they can use that to withstand any attack here from Cooper before they have to worry about free throws. Here's Vaughn with a spin move, and he draws another foul. 1:56 left. It's on Harry Sony, and the Eagles with 1 more. Apple Valley reaping the benefits of playing a clean game, being able to use the foul situation to your advantage, but Rashad Vaughn scoring off the inbound play, that brings them up to 31. It's a 7-point game. There is no shot clock, as we mentioned, so Apple Valley can kill clock here. Cooper playing a half-court set, not opting to run full court at this time. Going to try to get the steal. Apple Valley is in the double bonus. Franck got it.
That was a great move to get his shoulders around his defender and get him turn that corner.
When you have one-on-one coverage, all you need is one good juke, and there's nothing between you and the basket. 1:10 remaining. Cooper keeps possession. Still not over, though. Cooper, they hit a 3 here. That would really shake things up. But Vaughn hasn't been active as of late, and he's been their marquee player. He'll try. No, that's too strong, and Austin with the rebound. And now Cooper playing foul and chase. If Apple Valley hangs on, this is a big win for them. Again, they were down by 9, and it looked like Cooper was going to get the momentum and carry it forward, but the death of Apple Valley, as some fans head for the exits, they must not be staying for the Timberwolves game.
They have a Vikings game to get home for.
Yeah, Timberwolves picked a good night for one. Of course, they didn't know the Vikings would be in the playoffs. Frank missing, though, and so, again, still not over. But Cooper running out of time. But you see the depth of Apple Valley, and it all starts from their point guard and their ability to distribute the ball.
They're just a well-constructed team.
And they already have a big resume. I mean, they beat Osseo, last year's champion in Class 4A. They beat Hopkins, who finished 3rd. Gordon commits the foul. That was Apple Valley's last to give. And we'll try to get a word with one of the Apple Valley players once this game is out, and Vaughn missing the three-pointer. And he had a strong game today, but it comes down to support. And looking at the numbers one more time, Vaughn, the only player in double digits for Robbinsdale Cooper. Apple Valley has 4. And most of the time, 4 is going to beat 1.
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn is obviously an impressive individual talent. You know, but Cooper, you know, Robbinsdale Cooper was a little bit too one-dimensional today.
But as we talked about, Cooper, they're going through some injuries, so they haven't had a chance to see their full complement of players yet. As the season goes on, they'll have a better sense of chemistry, and who knows, they could slide in later on in the sections. Apple Valley, I think there's a growing pressure to deliver and bring the school what has eluded them for so long, and that's to even a state tournament appearance. They've lost the section final the last couple of years, and so they don't get talked about much when state tournament time comes around because they're not playing. So folks like Tyus Jones and Dennis Austin go unnoticed. But they have the pieces, and if they can keep themselves poised, and they already have some knowledge of how to play without Tyus Jones, perhaps they could finally traverse the metaphorical hump.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a lot of pieces in place that you can see that as they continue to grow, they should have a lot of success.
Still a couple months to go. And Apple Valley will extend their winning streak. Again, they have not lost a game since playing Park Center in the second game of the year at the Breakdown Sports USA Tip-Off Classic, and that really shook things up because at that event, the top 4 teams in the Class 4A rankings all lost. Apple Valley was number 1 at the time, but you just see the parity all around. And I believe this will be 8 straight wins now for the Eagles. 80-67. The score not indicative of how close the game was, but one more 3 for Rashad Vaughn. That will give him 34. But you saw the depth of Apple Valley prevailing in the end as they went on a monstrous run to close out with victory. Final buzzer sounds. Apple Valley wins 80-70, and we got what we came for. And Apple Valley making a strong case to be a state tournament contender at Class 4A and perhaps reclaim the #1 ranking.
Exactly. Both teams, you know, gave the crowd what they came for today. Apple Valley got the win that they came for.
So we'll try to get a word with an Apple Valley member or two before we head out of here.
Please proceed to the top of your section. Exit through the main ticket lobby.
Apple Valley winning 80-70. We'll recap the final numbers for you as Litel tries to get an interview here.
We had 4 great games today.
Dustin, Frank, and Dennis Austin teaming up. Austin leading Apple Valley with 22 points, Frank with 21, Tyus Jones with 18, and probably a double when you factor in his assists, Harry Sony with 12. Robbinsdale Cooper, it was Rashad Vaughn, and that was about it. Vaughn with 34 points, but the next player behind him, Brandon Robinson, had only 8. And as we talked about, depth, balance, those are big factors in your odds to win. So our coverage will continue, of course, throughout the season. We've got some regular season games coming up for you. So we're certainly not done. And, of course, we'll be here for the state tournament format for both the boys and the girls, which will bring us back here at Williams Arena, well, at Target Center, and, of course, at Williams Arena for Class 3A. So certainly a lot to look forward to as we push forward. And I guess we're going to have to wrap up quickly here. Well, thank you again, Stephen Litel, for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
That will wrap up things up from here. For everyone here, I'm Mike Peden. Thank you for watching the 17th Annual Timberwolves Shootout.